Hello, guys, and welcome back. So it just occurred to me that there might be need the need for us to have like a template for play testing our decks. So you know what we usually practice, but I have not really seen like a uh, some sort of a weekly planner or a weekly plan outline for play testing or also having the decks played in tournaments. So with that idea, I've come up with this like initial outline of a list or kind of a list that you can do for the week for testing and also playing the deck. So I've do some reference articles that check on this, like this one for example from General Fireball, preparing a tournament, play testing, deck selection, analyzing data. Though we don't really go into like this one, we just have it like more of a simpler version, like for us that we can do for our playtesting group or just even for those who are into competitive gameplay of this game, that we can do like uh, testing and also data gathering of the matchups for formats like standard, pioneer, modern, etc. So now, as you can see on the screen, I saw this one as a weekly planner outline. So I just had some of this as a short initial details that will somewhat explain what this planner is all about. But we'll come up with the final one once it is complete. But for now, let us go through the detail of this. So we call this one as like an entry sheet, like not only like a weekly planner, but also you need to also to have this initial information. So we have short player info, format that you place, the deck list, initial deck list of course, na may deck on the sideboard. And if you are regularly playing, there is tournament results of the deck. You can add it here, you can place the record. And this is now the introduction for the weekly plan of this outline. So starting off with Monday, of course, we have recent tournament results. So notes from that weekend's tournament performance, for example. So let's say you've finished in the top 4 or even the top 8. So we have this final record or X1 or X2, X21, etc. So we'll know note what are the highlights of what the deck have won against, what are the matchups that it lost into, and other scenarios that you can be able to take note out of that weekend tournament. So the next question is, what can you improve out of these scenarios? So this one, you could say that, for example, if you have maybe mulligan or you didn't have enough lands, then maybe you can say that you have made up shuffle better, or maybe the deck list has a lot, or may needed an additional land to increase its ratio for you to draw it, and other related info, something like that that you can think of, that what you can have basically improve from that one, from that tournament performance that you had. And then you can list on the top deck finishers of the joint event. Let's say not only the deck archetype, but also if possible, if there are deck list, you can also check, or you can ask your local tournament organizer as to how those are affected, or your list are you can just request for them, so you can have those as our initial notes that you can use for this one. But if not, you can just go to the Tuesday task wherein you can check the websites. So most also of the tournaments, if those are somewhat of a major tournament, they also upload those results in these sites. So we have the gdtop8.com, MTG Online also, if they are for the digital version, and also sites like this and gddex.net. So these specific websites would also help you to check on the metagame. Like for example, there's a recent major tournament online, or in like a sort of a Grand Prix event. So we have to see the top decks that perform there, or maybe there's a breakdown or a breakout deck, I mean. from the tournament, and also take note of other archetypes that also have a good, let's say, a good setup, or in a good position from that tournaments. You can still see if you, for example, for RPG Top 8, you can sort out those cards or those decks by archetypes. You can see also the list of the tournaments wherein those deck has finished in the top, or top 8 or top 4 finishes. So you can see the proportion on how those metagame archetypes are performing in these recent tournaments. So up to that task, you'll create a top deck archetypes. So you can have up to 5 decks that you can add to your list, or more if needed. So this would mean that it would help you in tracking these archetypes. So you would know that, and also be familiar with this one. So then the next task is to check your deck's win rate to each of them. So checking the deck's win rate, I think there was a website before, or I'm not sure if it's still ongoing, wherein they do a win rate percentage table. It's like a multiplication table wherein they partner each of these specific archetypes to each other, and then analyze the win rate. But on your end, if it should not be that task specific or task heavy, just see wherein what your personal perspective would mean that this specific deck that you would go against them would have you this percentage or of win rates. That is including the main deck, or pre-sideboard and post-sideboard matches. And then, what are the weakest cards in your main deck's current list? What are the inefficient cards in your current sideboard list? This is also be able for you to take note. So this would appear in the outline as just guide questions, but you can just imagine there's a whole big text box there that you can type in your notes and your ideas, and what would be the efficient or the most efficient and inefficient cards that was observed during the last weekend's tournament performance of the deck. And then for Wednesday, this will be the start of your playtest sessions. Of course, friends, teammates, and carpool mates are your usual go-to to have the deck playtest. If given that you have no playtest group, there are still options for you to do those testing online. If you have the online version like MTG Online or just in MTG Arena, you can still do some standard rank or Explorer rank. Explorer is kind of like a pioneer format. You have yet to have a modern version there and online, but still standard is very much alive in MTG Arena, so you can do some playtesting there of your deck. So for each playtest, if you have your teammates, you can note this data: your deck and your opponent's deck, your number of pre-board sideboard matchups, and your number of post-sideboard matches, and list down the observations of each games. So if there are relevant scenarios that might need to do some note on it, then you will have those listed on this part on your list of observations. Of course, you can also arrange this one. As for me, I personally like to do some pre-sideboarded matches, like 3 games pre-sideboard and then 3 games post-sideboard. It will be also interactively, like you in the game 1 you will play first, and then on the game 2 you will your opponents will play first, and then so on and so forth. This should also happen here in these specific games. And of course, you need to note as possible, you should have at least like a separate paper sheet on your side during the games, so that you would know that these cards or these scenarios will be highlighted, and if ever you would need to if ever you get to face the same or similar scenario again during the actual tournament, then you would also help you to know how these matchups or deck or game scenarios would help you. by having this list of observations. Now for Thursday also, it's like similar, another playtest session with your friends, teammates and carpool mates. You would have this as your setup. If ever you have made changes during the Wednesday, after the Wednesday playtesting, you will note it here. Any changes you made in the main deck and also the sideboard. Also again, list down your pre-sideboard matches and post-sideboard matches. It would be also helpful if you also get to pilot your opponent's deck. For example, after this one, if you have still extra time, you can try to exchange your deck setup. You will play your opponents will have to pilot your deck against you, play testing also another of the archetype, and also do some observations of it. That is also important because you would need to know that let's say it's kind of like on your opponent's feet, wherein you would know how his or her deck would also interact with your archetypes, and also how its gameplay would look. Though it would really require you to be more flexible in the matchups. Like for example, if you're not fond of playing control and then your opponent is playing control, it would be like uncomfortable to you to do some playtesting using that control deck if you are not that familiar with that archetype. And then again, the list of observations is very important for this one. So you can compare the first day of playtest and then the second day of playtesting of the observations that you would need. And those data that you have gathered, you will use now here in the Friday, wherein it will be your deck build finalization. So you can see here, list down all the final deck list, including Manic sideboard you will play for the weekend, and also list the sideboard in outs. So this would be very helpful for you to have that mean that you would need to have this, so that it would be easy for you to just sort out your play. Unless of course you have observed some new cards from your opponent's deck archetypes that has not been noted down in your last weekend's tournament or from the top decks list. So you could also do some adjustments further. But do take note that this is just the very important way for you to easily board in between matchups by also listing down this sideboard in and outs for these various deck archetypes that you will face. And then if there's an FNM, that if you're going to Friday Night Magic, prepare a separate sheet for deck matchups. So this is also important because this would be your notes for the highlights and other key observations that you will have. Though it might be awkwardly, somewhat at times it would be hard for you to list this kind of observations, but it would be also helpful. Like for example, in between games, you can just note or just mental note the plays that you think would be the highlight or what you have observed, and then put those keywords in the separate sheet for this one, so that you can have this report later on for the upcoming week. That is for this one, for your Monday's notes for the Monday plan. And then for Saturday, since this would be probably mostly of the highlight, for example, there's a Saturday RCQ or the qualifier tournament, so you would need to have this one like a pre-tournament checklist. What is check of your main deck, of your sideboard. You do a double check if they're accurate, since most of these major tournaments are kind of strict in deck check or also in deck lists, so you need to avoid those and minimal errors that you would face in case that you haven't prepared it. So you have to note of this one. This is also very important for you to have like a pre-tournament checklist that you can follow. I can suggest that you can have like kind of like an initial checklist, like the main deck sideboard, your in and outs, what are the things you would need. If for example you need to bring water or energy drinks or even energy bar for you, or you have eaten your lunch before, you can also add those if needed. and also dice, your playmat, etc., other tokens, or other accessories needed during the tournament. And of course, make sure that you have decent or taken a decent sleep prior for this pre preparation for a Saturday major tournament. And then during the games, of course, noting the night traps also would also help. So again, prepare a separate sheet, but do take note that if it might be that bulky, then just use keywords to indicate your observations, so that you would know that there might be some happenings that are needed, and these notes would also be important for you. For example, if you are be going on the next games, so these rounds would probably take you like 6 to 7 rounds. So those initial observations from the first initial runs would be helpful for you, so that you would know what to do on your next games if ever you would face a similar archetype during the tournament. And I have not yet finalized Sunday, but I would also depend here, like if there are tournaments, for example, if the Sunday there's another major tournament, then I would suggest that you will follow the same pattern with what we have here. Like in this one, we can still do some pre-tournament checklist, noting of games, matchups, and highlights, and other info that you can use here in between. Though it's pretty much a very hard grind for you if ever you would be able to play this 2-day tournament. It's quite popular, but if it's that's the case, then do make sure that you do a quick or an initial follow-up. Like for example, if you have finished on the first one, and maybe you have you are short of making to the top 8, then you can just leave the area early and then do some preparations again for the next tournament on Sunday, so that you can have enough rest and do some adjustments on the deck and other needed things to or tasks to do prior to this Sunday major tournament again that you will face. So I think that is the outline of this kind of a weekly planner. I have yet to make the final PDF plan for this, so just stay tuned for that. I will announce if I would be able to finalize this, so that you guys can also use this for your kind of setup. If you can have this one, and if you have suggestions on how I can do this weekly planner for deck playtesting and tournament performance for Magic the Gathering, maybe in Standard, Pioneer, Modern, etc., just let me know in the comments below. We can have some discussion on it, in what would be your observations for this kind of setup. If this is enough, or did I miss something out of this playtesting setting, or you have other ideas in mind that you would like to share. So thanks, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for checking this one. We have our weekly planner outline discussion. This is the initial list, but I do hope you already got the idea on how this final document would look like. And of course, I hope that you guys can support this. We are also checking on this channel, and also of course you can watch my previous videos on MTG Arena gameplay and other Magic Gathering stuff, opening boosters, etc., and that would also be at your service here in the channel. Again, guys, thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you on the next video upload.